Hello and welcome to the Championship Talk podcast. I'm your host Paul O'Toole, and not joining me is my co-host Thomas Falco. We will get together and he will record a transfer roundup because there has been some really interesting transfers that he wants to go through. But first of all, we need to do the Daily Derby, which seems to be a thing, so we'll talk about Derby. But this is slightly better news. The EFL have delayed an emergency meeting as positive developments have unfolded in the last 24 hours, in that they have found a preferred bidder and the administrators have recommended a preferred bidder. EFL Chairman Rick Parry told Sky Sports that identified a preferred bidder was the final piece of the jigsaw so that progress could be made. The EFL had originally given the administrators until the 1st of February to prove they had sufficient funding to complete the season, which basically meant Derby were going to go into a potential liquidation. The EFL were willing to work with the administrators because obviously the scale and size of any deal to buy a football club is not just like popping to the shops and buying a paper. It's considerable amount of work that goes into that. And if any of you have ever bought or sold a house, you know how difficult that is to get the things moving, to get numerous parties talking to each other. Imagine that times 20, times 30 in the scale of buying a football club. So it can be quick, but it more than likely takes time. And obviously the EFL's deadline with 6 days to go, we would have been tight up against that, and probably it was never going to happen by the 1st of February. But what the EFL is saying is that as now there is a preferred bidder, they are prepared to work with the administrators to look to make sure that Derby fulfills its fixtures until a sale can be made, which is really, really good news. And there's been a lot of talk, politicians being involved. I'm gonna have quite a controversial opinion in a minute, but politicians have been involved. Sky Sports pundits have been involved, and it's good news that Derby are looking like they're going to still have a future, and that we're going to still have a Derby County Football Club in fulfilling the fixtures of this season, but into next season and beyond. That is really good news because we did not want to see a club the size of Derby go out of business. However, where were these same people when Bury went to the wall? That's the question I would be asked. Is it? It's a sad fact that you have to be too big to fail, and Derby are a massively historic club. They've got a massive fan base. What makes ultimately them any different to Bury? And I think that's what's going to leave a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths, is that you could say maybe lessons were learned from when Bury went into liquidation. And that's probably true. But we need to look at football clubs differently to other businesses, because they're not just a limited company or a PLC company that can just be thrown away. They are more important in a community, and I think that something needs to be done at the foundation level of British football, and we're talking Premier League clubs as well. We're talking all football clubs. Obviously, we've got the Bundesliga system where it's 29, it's 50 plus 1, which means the fans have a seat on any board, etc. Which means they have they can block things in some extent. You could have less commutative regulation, which means that in the Premier League and the EFL, it's a member society, and the members ultimately decide on what clubs can and can't do. It's effectively the clubs themselves deciding, well, maybe we need to move to a more a heavier regulated framework. And what that probably will mean, and as much as I don't like it, it probably will mean harsher penalties for teams that don't follow the rules. So it will mean more points deduction, it would mean stricter financial regulation, etc. But if that stops this situation where Derby potentially were 6 or 7 days away from being liquidated, that's a good thing. I'm just a bit frustrated that this kind of action wasn't taken, and we could say that the lessons were learned from Bury, but ultimately we've come very close to Derby being in the same situation, and we're still not in a situation where Derby are safe. They've still not got an owner. They've still got two clubs suing them in Wycombe and Middlesbrough, and those things are still looming over Derby, as well as the points deduction they've had this season and potential relegation. Now, you could argue that the way Derby have been playing, Forest were a bit of the spoil sports of the weekend, but the way Derby have been playing, they're going to make a fight of it before the end of the season, and with a new owner, they're going to have something to fight for, because it would be a crying shame if they'd have got the points they've got so far, a few more, saw some hope after a 21-point deduction, and then ultimately were liquidated and there was no point anyway. Because I think that would be horrendous for sport in general. Let me know what you think, because I know Thomas is a Forest fan, and Forest themselves have been through their own financial turmoil. They've been through, I think every club in the Championship at some point or another has gone through financial, have been on the brink. I think every single club has been close to that point where, going out of business was a real possibility. And I remember how that was as a fan, and how miserable that was as a fan. There's dark. We don't want to revel in Derby's misfortune, but we definitely want lessons to be learned, and hopefully that we're now seeing that light at the end of the tunnel. We can move forward. So something that went under the radar. I didn't really want to mention it last week, but it's Hull City. They've been taken over by a Turkish-based Akum Media Group. The Championship club were taken over around about 19th of January. It brings an end to Assaim, the Alam family's 12-year spell in charge. Fans repeatedly protested about various things or another. The new owners, so they've got big dreams and goals to achieve with the fans, which I think every new owner says. It was announced 90 minutes before the kickoff on Wednesday. Alam's been looking to sell the club for a number of years, but a number of deals have fallen through, including one in 2016 with a consortium from Japan and China. It's going to be interesting. I say the new ownership of over Hull. They got a good result at the weekend. Over 11 years, there's been, you could say that it's always been exciting at Hull. Ups and downs. I remember getting into the Premier League and then Steve Bruce leaving, I think the night before the season was due to start, due to lack of player recruitment. It's definitely been an interesting spell. I think it'll be, you always wonder, any new owner comes in, you always wonder, are they going to be good owners? Are they going to be good custodians of that community football club? And that's that one fear, is that they've bought it for the right intentions. Everyone dreams of a really good owner, really good business model, moves the club forward, but there is always that worry. It's always sometimes that unknown. But it should be interesting. I said they got a good result at the weekend, and we shall see from there. But before we get onto the weekend's fixtures, we're going to look at the Tuesday night fixture between Preston and Sheffield United. Ended 2-2. Jayden Bogle scores after 17 minutes for Sheffield United. He just smashes it through the goalkeeper's legs from the edge of the box with a really, really good controlled volley. Andrew Hughes gets sent off on 38 minutes. He's the last man. It's just clumsy. It's clumsy. I think it's soft, but it's clumsy, and there was contact, and it goes down. Billy Sharp then scores a penalty on 39 minutes. He's just buried it past the goalkeeper. Alan Brown, obviously the penalty came after the red card. Alan Brown on 71 minutes. Johnson with a great cutback from the penalty spot, tapped in to make it 2-1. Then Jakobsen then gets one on 89 minutes. Sheffield United later 2-goal lead slips. Terrible. Or with a tap in at the far post from a low driven cross. We also had Fulham hitting 6 against Birmingham. Fulham 6, Birmingham 2. Fulham are just great fun to watch. Absolutely great fun to watch. Mark Roberts scores an own goal on 10 minutes. This was a low cross from the left, sliding in, pokes it in. past his own goalkeeper. There was a player behind him though, so it would have gone in anyway. Naskins Cabano scores after 35 minutes. This was a low cross. Again, sort of stabbed him from 6 yards. That made it 2-0. Carvalho then scores to make it 3-0 on 38 minutes. This is a header from across from the left, headed in at the near post. Tom Kearney then gets one on 43 minutes to make it 4-0. This is, they basically get 3 passes off inside the Birmingham's 18-yard box. They're actually passing it to each other inside the Birmingham's 18-yard box. And then he just taps it in from the penalty spot. No defending whatsoever. Sunic then scores before the interval to make it 4-1 from a corner. Corner from outside. It's top corner from outside the box. Sorry, my notes were very difficult to read. Gary Garner again gets one back on 74 minutes to make it 4-2. Again, another good goal. Low shot from the edge of the box. That was a really good cracking finish, that was. Carvalho then gets another one to make it 5-2 on 75 minutes. Bent low past the goalkeeper from the edge of the box. Anthony Robinson then into injury time makes it 6-2 with a shot from outside the box that goes past Neil Etheridge, who concedes 6. Carvalho definitely man of the match of this game. Fulham had 11 shots on target, which is quite incredible. Hull 2, Blackburn 0. Honeyman scores after 8 minutes. Good work by Eves to get the ball, to keep the ball in play. Then it's tapped in. Eves then gets one himself on 67 minutes from the back post. There was a foul in the build-up, I think, as well, which was a bit controversial. Anyway, in terms of man of the match, Tom Eves really good performance again. Then we've got the Wednesday night game: Reading 0, Luton 2. Tom Holmes scores after 33 minutes. This is an own goal poked into his own net from a low cross from the right. Then Alan Campbell then scores on 57 minutes. This was a low cross tapped in at the near post. Reading on a terrible run of form. They do have a good result on the weekend though. Then we move on to the first of the weekend's games. Nottingham Forest 2, Derby 1. Wow, this game had everything. If this was going to be the last derby, if this was going to be the last derby between these two, and Derby County were going to go into liquidation, to say they put up a fight was, yeah, this was our derby. This was an old-fashioned derby, and this was good. Lewis Grabban scores after 48 minutes. It falls to him inside the box, 6 yards out, up from a deflected shot. He's never going to miss that. Brennan Johnson scores after 82 minutes. Zinkernagel, who played really well in this game, low cross from the left. He picks him out, and he goes... and the crowd just go bananas when this goal goes in. Tom Lawrenson scores a penalty on 88 minutes. Just so clumsy from Steve Cook. Just ridiculous. Anyway. Samba should be sent off in the build-up to this. He had taken an absolute clattering and had a massive swelling above his eye that they bandaged, which I thought was quite funny. The last thing I'd want is a bandage holding that in. That looked like that was quite painful. So he'd taken a really bad head injury, which we'll talk about concussion protocols on whatever, because that was a serious head injury. But in the aftermath of the penalty, I think he's going to get a ban, because he does take a swipe and does make contact with Lawrence. A slap, closed fist, whatever you want to say. If it was a punch, it wasn't a good one, but it's definitely... he definitely goes to take a swipe at him and makes contact. The referee does nothing about it. Ravel Morrison then gets sent off for a high challenge. I wouldn't say out of control. I wouldn't say it was particularly quick, but it definitely was a sending off. His studs go up the shin. You don't make those challenges, especially not with the atmosphere the way it was. You're always going to get sent off. Then we had a melee afterwards. So the final whistle happens, and then we have a fight. It was just a derby. It was old-fashioned football. It was good football. Forest go marching on. This brought an end to Derby's 6-game unbeaten run. In the grand scheme of things, though, Forest are a good team at the moment, and Derby are a depleted team with a lot of off-the-field problems, and they still go for fight of it. So you can't take that away. In terms of the stats, though, Derby only managed 1 shot on target the whole game, and that was the penalty. Bristol City 3, Cardiff 2. This game also a 12:30 kickoff. This was also a derby. Though I got in People have laughed at me before by saying Bristol City Cardiff was a derby, given that they are effectively in 2 different countries. But it was a derby. I'm not having anything said about it. It was a derby. The Cardiff City fans actually trashed one of the toilets at Ashton Gate, and the Cardiff City owners, I saw on Twitter, have offered to pay for the damage. James Collins scores a header to make it 1-0 to Cardiff on 32 minutes. This was from across from the right. Chris Martin then scores on 33 minutes. There was a foul, and it definitely was a foul, but everyone stops for this goal. The ball falls to Martin, who basically takes a touch inside the box, bends it past the goalkeeper. Really good goal. But everyone stopped. Everyone expected the whistle to go. Everyone heard a whistle apart from Chris Martin, who just bends out in the corner and just goes, yep, thank you very much. He then gets another one on 63 minutes. This was a good 1-2. A low finish to the goalkeeper's left. Andre Weimann then gets one on 77 minutes. Semedo with his 3rd assist of the game. Such power, and then lays the ball off. Weimann then slots it past the goalkeeper. Max Walters then gets a header into injury time. It just basically trickles over the line. Really scrappy goal. Again, another good derby. Chris Martin really, really played well in this game. Probably my shock, and this one was my coupon buster. I had a 7-fold, and this one, unfortunately, didn't come off. I had Bournemouth to win this. Bournemouth 0, Hull 1. Ryan Longman scores after 77 minutes. He cuts inside from the left and just bends it low into the top corner. Oh, he doesn't. He cuts inside from the left and bends it into the top corner. Really, really nice goal. When you look at the stats, Bristol City had... Bournemouth had 17 shots. 8 on target, 2 holes, 7 shots, 5 on target. Bournemouth had 70% possession. It was a good game. It's really frustrating though, because I didn't think Hull would get anything from this. But Bournemouth are a little bit patchy. They can be got at, I think is the words that we're looking. You would say they definitely can be got at. So we move on to Birmingham 2, Barnsley 1. One Hernandez scores after 34 minutes. Driving run past Williams and then just a cool low finish. Scott Hogan then scores on 51 minutes. Poked him from a corner that's just not dealt with. I think the commentator even said he's not going to score an easier goal than that. Victor Adebayo scores on 87 minutes. Low finish from a ball just not dealt with from the left. Possession was 50-50. Lukas Lukovic was a good outlet up front, but this game happened. Blackpool 1, Millwall 0. Shane Lowry scores after 55 minutes. It just falls to him from a good save from Biakowski, and he basically just drills this through a crowd of players. It was a good save. He was out of his area when obviously the rebound happened because there was nothing he could do about it. Richard Keogh was man of the match in this game. Really solid. Definitely, it's an insult to say he can still do a job at this level. He's a good defender. Coventry City 1, QPR 2. Andre Gray scores after 6 minutes. Low shot from a good run. He beats 2 defenders. We just don't get close to him. Jordan Shipley scores after 50 minutes. That was really hard for me to say. Smashed into the top corner. Just brilliant goal. Then Albert Adoma scores after 88 minutes. Header from just inside the 6-yard box. Didn't catch who assisted that one. However, in this game, Coventry had 21 shots. They were firing from all angles. Only 7 on target. We go to probably game of the weekend. The Forest Derby had all the action and all the drama. This game had all the goals. Reading 3, Hull... let me do that again. Reading 3, Huddersfield 4. Lucas Yao scores after 5 minutes. He's a man over and he's put through, finishes low past the goalkeeper. Daniel Sinini scores after 9 minutes. Just no one closes him down. He just gets ages to pick his spot, low to the goalkeeper's left. It does take a little deflection, but he just has so much time to pick that spot. Danny Ward then scores after 15 minutes. The shot just hits him from 7 yards and just... He had the whole goal to aim for. George Pushkas on 23 minutes makes it 2-2. He's put through on the right. The keeper just don't dive from a tight angle. It's a narrow angle. he can only put it either to your near post or to your, he just stands still. It didn't look good from the goalkeeper point of view. Danny Ward then scores after 25 minutes. The keeper with an absolute howler from a free kick, and it's tapped him. That was. He claimed he was fouled. He wasn't fouled. It come across. He went to catch it. He landed. The ball bounced as he landed, and it was a tap in. That made it 3-2. 3-3. Michael Morrison scores a header on 45 minutes. This is kind of bundled in. It just literally there was deflections. This was an absolute scrappy goal. Danny Ward then gets another for him and his hat trick on 53 minutes. Sort of hits his mid height, bends it around the goalkeeper. Goalkeeper's a full stretch, no chance for this. 4-3. This game, really, really good game. 14 shots to Reading, 19 to Huddersfield. These games were like, these teams were both of the opinion, neither can defend. Let's just keep slugging it out, and then one of us will win eventually. Sheffield United 2, Luton 0. Ryan Brewster scores with great control. He spins, nutmegs the goalkeeper. Normally I'd give the goalkeeper grief, but he spins so quickly and just slots that past the goalkeeper. That was, the goalkeeper had no chance. Jack Robinson scores after 51 minutes. This is headed in from a free kick from the left. Reece Burke gets sent off. He is the last man for Luton. Luton had 4 shots, 2 on target, to Sheffield United's 25 shots. Yeah, there was definitely Sheffield United had a point to prove here. Stoke 2, Fulham 3. DiMaggio Wright Phillips scores after a minute. Just watched the video of Ian Wright. It's obviously his grandson. He celebrates this. And then DiMaggio Wright Phillips done what Ian Wright would never have done, which is a double backflip, treble salt flip thing. And when he celebrated, Ian Wright goes, "I told him to stop doing that," which is really quite funny. That was after a minute. That put Stoke 1-0 up. Fulham then equalised 30 seconds later. Rodrigo Muniz smashes it in the roof of the net from the edge of the box. Absolutely thunder bastard of a shot. Fabio Carvalho makes it 2-1 to Fulham on 33 minutes. This is cut back. He nearly misses this, but it hits the post and goes in. I think if he'd have missed it, the miss hit made this go in. Lewis Baker then scores after 46 minutes to make it 2-2. This 30 yards dipping, it just dips. It's about mid-height, but the power just, he has top spin on the ball when it goes past. Then Bobby Cordova-Reid scores after 46 minutes. He smashes this in from a really tight angle. It hits the bar, hits the sort of underside of the bar. Really good finish. In terms of shots on target, fairly level. This game, Fulham was just like a machine. They didn't have Mitrovic in this game either. But if you score 2 against them, they'll score 3 or 4. And I think that's Fulham are going to start moving away from the pack, I think. Swansea 1, Preston 0. Ryan Manning scores a brilliant goal, considering he's playing at right back. Just really, really smashed this from outside the box. Just seeks this goal out. This was phenomenal. Then we have West Brom. Oh, sorry. The thing I want to say about this game is Preston managed 1 shot on target the whole game. Swansea managed 10 shots, 4 on target. West Brom 3, Peterborough 0. Kipra scores after 78 minutes. The relief around the Hawthorns was just, you could feel it. It was really tense. There's an absolute scramble. 2 shots, a header. It just seemed to be never-ending. Peterborough couldn't clear, and then Kipra then scores. Carlan Grant then scores a 1-on-1. When he's put through, you just know he's going to score. And he buries that. And Diangana then gets one on 89 minutes. Ball over the top. The goalkeeper rushing out. He just kind of slots it over the goalkeeper. To say this was one-way traffic, this is probably the most one-sided game I've watched in a long time. So possession-wise, it's fairly standard, 63% to West Brom. West Brom, however, had 27 shots to Peterborough's 0. Peterborough did not have a single shot in this entire game. And bar a scramble, probably would have got a point, because West Brom didn't look like scoring. They really did not look like scoring at all. And that'd be quite worrying if I was a West Brom fan. So, where that leaves the table, Fulham sit top, obviously. They're opening a massive gap between them and Bournemouth. Fulham are on 57 points. Bournemouth are on 49. Blackburn are also on 49 points. All three of those have played 27 games. QPR are 4th on 47 points. They have a game in hand on both Bournemouth and Blackburn. So if they win that game in hand, they would move on to 50 points and move above Bournemouth into second place. I don't think you'd have had too many people put money on that at the start of the season. You've then got West Brom, who are in 5th. They've also played 27 games. They are on 45 points. Huddersfield are in 6th. They're one of the only teams that have played 28 games. They're on 44 points. Middlesbrough is 7th on 42 points. However, they do have 2 games in hand over Huddersfield, 1 game in hand over West Brom. Nottingham Forest are up into 8th. They're on 40 points. Again, they've played 27 games. When you look at the bottom, Barnsley are rooted to the bottom. They are on 14 points. They've played 25 games. Derby are on 14 points. They've played 27 games. So Barnsley do have 2 games in hand over Derby. However, when you look at goal difference, Derby's goal difference is 0. Whereas Barnsley's goal difference is minus 21. Peterborough, who are on 19 points, played 25 games also. Their goal difference is minus 30. So that is... when the shake-up happens, that potentially could be, the difference maker. When you consider that they've got 2 games in hand on Reading, who are 21st on 22 points. But Reading's goal difference is 12 goals better. Cardiff are 20th on 23 points. Hull are 19th on 29 points. Birmingham are 18th on 31 points. Swansea are on 31 points. And Bristol City are on 33. When you look at the form table, the form teams are Middlesbrough and Huddersfield right now. They are 2 of the form teams. When you look at teams that are not in good form, Reading haven't won a game in 6. Cardiff haven't won a game in 6. Neither has Barnsley. So those 3 teams are on an absolutely abysmal run of form. Derby County, up until their loss to Forest, had not lost in their last 6. So very, very interesting. Bournemouth have lost 4 of their last 6. So when you look at that, Bournemouth's recent run of form has been very patchy. Lost 2, won 2, lost 2. Very, very inconsistent. As I say, QPR are a team to watch there though, because they could sneak in as a playoff push. I think by now you could probably write Fulham into the Premier League just by the way they're playing. 73 goals so far they've scored. When you compare that to the nearest best team, 44. So there's a marked difference. Goal difference for Fulham plus 48. Nearest best goal difference after that plus 19. Those stats are quite incredible. Now, admittedly, Fulham have hammered several teams 6 or 7-0, but that just shows how good they are. So yeah. So tonight, 24th, we have Blackburn host Middlesbrough. I will be reviewing that in next week's pod. When we look at the weekend's fixtures, I'm just going to get the fixtures up, bear with me. I had those on a separate tab. When you look at the fixtures, we've got Tuesday night games. Birmingham host Peterborough. Coventry host Stoke. Luton host Bristol City. Nottingham Forest host Barnsley. QPR are at home to Swansea. Wednesday, you've got West Brom at home to Preston. Friday, Huddersfield are at home to Stoke. Then on the Saturday, Barnsley are home to Bournemouth. Fulham at home to Blackpool. Hull at home to Swansea. Luton at home to Blackburn Rovers. Middlesbrough at home to Coventry. Millwall at home to West Bromwich Albion. Preston at home to Bristol City. QPR at home to Reading. And Peterborough at home to Sheffield United. We've then got Sunday games. Derby County host Birmingham. And Cardiff host Nottingham Forest. Now, all of those midweek fixtures, there is a game on TV. So there's a game tonight. Blackburn Middlesbrough is live on Sky Sports Football. The Tuesday night games, the Birmingham, Luton, Nottingham Forest and QPR games, they are all either on Sky Sports Football behind the red button. Coventry City Stoke is not. The Wednesday game, West Brom at home to Preston, that's on Sky Sports Football behind the red button. Friday, Huddersfield host Stoke, that's behind the red button also. Peterborough at home to Sheffield Wednesday on Saturday, that's on Sky Sports Football. Derby at home to Birmingham, that's on Sky Sports Football. Cardiff at home to Nottingham Forest, that's on Sky Sports Football also. One of those is a 4 o'clock kickoff, one's a 1:30 kickoff. The game on Saturday is a 5:30 kickoff. So there is a whole host of Championship football to watch. Thank you all for listening to the pod. As always, if you are a YouTube subscriber, hit us with a thumbs up, helps people to see the video. If you listen to the audio podcast, leave us any kind of review on whatever podcast service you use. Thank you for listening, and we shall be back. You may even see a surprise guest next week in Thomas Falco, but if he's not, don't worry, I'll be reviewing all the games. That's goodbye from me, and I'll speak to you next week. Goodbye.